picture. Did you guys see the pictures of the dogs?
Yeah.
Okay. So right now I'm teaching high school biology. We just barely did a first lesson the day before on introductory to heredity, passing on traits. So with that picture in mind, what did you guys see there? Okay, so that's what was different about them, but what was the same?
They're all dogs.
Okay, and they're all dogs of, yes, they're all the same breed, but they have different colors. How would this happen? Do you think that they're related? Probably not. Why not? Like, yeah, do you think they're siblings? You don't think so?
No.
Okay, why not?
Because they're all different colors.
Colors, okay. Well, what about, I mean, what color are your eyes?
Brown.
Do your parents both have brown hair?
No.
Okay, so I'm not going to elaborate anymore with that right now, but just keep that in mind. Okay. I don't know. I gotta just go off this here. Alright, so today the agenda, we're going to talk about traits. Is that, okay, cool. Thanks. Anyway, so talk about traits, so it's gone. And we're going to learn how to use PunnettSquares, and we're going to observe our own traits. Objectives, your students will be able to demonstrate use of PunnettSquares and predict genotypes and phenotypes. You'll also be able to compile probability and ratios for the outcomes of the PunnettSquares. And then we will also determine possible genotypes of a specific phenotype that they express. Okay. So here, what's missing from these pictures here? Like in a way of heredity, like how you pass on traits.
Two parents?
Yes, exactly. So do you guys think that you get all of your traits from just one parent?
No.
Okay, that's correct. Why would you say that you get traits from different parents?
So look like my mom and
Yeah, like you don't look exactly like your mom, you don't look exactly like your dad. You kind of have a combination of both. Alright, so, I just said you get one chromosome from each parent. Each chromosome has different traits from each parent, and then each trait has its own allele. Allele is a different form of a gene. So genes determine traits. When you have different alleles, you have two separate alleles for each gene, and you're going to express one over the other. You get one from each parent. That's why you get the combination. So how can we predict what our offspring will look like? Well, there's there's other ways, but the one we're going to learn today is using a Punnett square. When you use a Punnett square, it's a grid that you will demonstrate on the board. You use the parents' alleles and you cross the two to predict your possible outcomes. And we talked about the day before genotypes. Does anyone remember what a genotype is? It's up there. Oh, it's not up there.
it's
So
like
think about the words. So you have geno, or gene, so you have gene, and then types. So it's a gene type. So the genotype is the actual allele, the actual gene you see. So it's going to be represented by a letter. I'm going to pull this up and I'll write it out in a minute. And then phenotype. Pheno means an observable characteristic. So the phenotype is actually what you see. The gene is the written symbol, and then the phenotype is what you actually see. We'll do probability and ratio with the Punnett squares. We have like 2 minutes. Take a breath. Okay. This is just a general overview. I'm just going to skip over it right now, and we'll just drop. Oh, and within within traits, do you think that a tail is a trait that everyone has, or how would you differentiate between a trait that we all have and an individual trait? Sorry, I'm not getting my question here. So you have specific, or you have species trait, so that would be like a tail, or the fact that we have 2 legs. those are all traits that we as Homo sapiens, same species, will all have those traits. But then it's when you get into individual traits is when you get hair color, height, eye color, those kinds of things. So let's take hair color, or not hair color, hair type. So we have straight and wavy, straight and curly. So straight, Jean. Okay, so the allele for straight hair is going to be indicated with the capital S. And we talked about dominance and recessive. Dominant allele is one that's most influential, and a recessive trait is one that will only be expressed if the dominant trait or dominant allele isn't present in most cases. For the dominant and recessive inheritance pattern, that's the case. So S is for straight, and then a little s will be, you have curly hair. So if your parents have, your mom, say she has straight hair, she could either be SS with a little s, and that would mean that the dominant trait here still overpowers the recessive trait. And then say your dad over here has curly hair. So he has to have two little s's. You have to have two recessive alleles for that to actually be expressed. So this is your genotype. Phenotype is curly for that, and then this is straight. So do you guys understand the difference between phenotype and genotype? Have I written that there? Okay. So then here's our Punnett square. So along the top we'll do the mother, and we put one allele in each square. So we'll do a little s and a big S, and then we'll do the father on this side, and he has curly hair. Alright, so then you take one from each, you take one allele from each and put it into the square. So we'll take the big S here, and then we'll take the small s and place it there. Same situation for this box. So what we're seeing here is there'll be 4 possible outcomes for our offspring, and that's what we're trying to predict with the Punnett square. So does anyone, what would I put in this square?
A little less, a little less.
And same with this one? Or would it be different? Okay. So now we have our different outcomes. So this one has a big S and a little s. So with dominance and recessiveness, what is that? What do you think the phenotype of this offspring would be? Straight. Straight? Okay. Good job. And then this one would be the same because this is still the same genotype here. So that's straight. And then what about these two? There's little s, and little s, little s. Curly. Okay. Good job. So with that said, we're going to talk just for a quick second about probability and ratio. Ratio is when you're comparing a number to another number in another term. So when we have 2 offspring that are going to have straight hair and 2 offspring that are going to have curly hair, what's our ratio? 1 to 1. 2 to 2, 1 to 1. Yeah, same thing. So there is ratio is 2 to 2. Now about probability. Probability is the likelihood, the chances that something will happen. So when we have 2 individuals or offspring that will be curly haired, and there's 4 possible outcomes, what would our probability be?
1, 2.
Yeah, so 50%. So if you think about 2, so half, two kids will be straight haired, 2 will be curly, so half and half. Half is 50% chance. All right, and so taking what we know from that, we'll move into the activity today. We'll just kind of tell what we would have done. So what I would do is have you students actually look at your own observable traits, and then we put them into a chart. The first line is showing the students that demonstrate a dominant type, so being able to roll your tongue, like, I'm just trying to show it, I think I can roll my tongue, like that. So that's a dominant trait. Not everyone can roll their tongue. So what I do is have everyone try it and have their partner at their table or whatever tell them if they were able to do it or not. And then you would put the number, you have everyone raise their hand if they can or can't do it, and then you actually calculate out a percentage of students that can. What the point of this activity would be is to show the frequency of whether dominant traits are expressed more or recessive traits are expressed more. And then there's further questions. I didn't have time to print out the thing, but there's a full activity that I can give you guys. And there's about 5 or 6 questions that are really leveled questions that are really good for this activity. And even after the activity is done, because this is just talking about simply figuring out what percentage is dominant traits and what percentage is recessive. From there, then you could actually put the Punnett square into like use, and you can say, okay, so since you have, dimples, try and predict what your parents' phenotypes were, or genotypes were based on their phenotypes and yours, and figure out what, genes they carried and which genes you inherited from them. For review, that would be the review actually, is assessing, using these things and putting them into the Punnett squares, and also review some terms. And the assessment, the assessment was actually look and go home, look at your parents and try to figure out what traits you got from them, put it into Punnett square, and predict your parents' genotypes. Possible, because there could be a number with dominant and recessive. One parent could have 2 different genotypes but still be expressing one trait. If that makes sense. That's it.